Hello everybody, my name is Jennifer Maker. Today we are learning how to make shadow box paper art on the Great Maker Show and Tell. I love creating paper art. You can do so much with it, and it always amazes me how versatile it is. Like how you can layer paper to create a 3D scene like these right here. I call this my secret garden. The layers of paper create depth and drama, and when you put light behind it, you can see it come to life. The shadows and light create a magical effect. So to make this shadow box paper art project, you're going to need 65-pound white or light colored paper. I'm using this 12 by 12 inch white paper that I got at Michael's. The link for the paper is in the video description and over on my blog at jennifermaker.com. It's important that you use 65-pound cardstock because regular 20 or 24-pound paper will be too light and see-through, but heavier 80-pound cardstock won't let enough light in. You also need a way to cut your paper layers. You could use just like an X-Acto knife. I used a Cricut, and I have the free templates for this design over on my blog at jennifermaker.com. And you can customize the figures in the secret garden too. You can have just a mother and daughter, a mother and son, just a mother, just a girl, just a boy, or any combination of these. Or create your own silhouette and put it in the center as a focal point instead. You'll also need a way to attach your layers of paper. I recommend a 3-dimensional self-adhesive dot, like Zots, in between your paper layers. This ensures that your layers have some space in between them, which I think is really important for creating the right look with depth to it. You may want to put it into a frame. I recommend 8 by 8 or 9 by 9 frames, and they should be at least 1.5 inches thick. And I put the links to all the frames that I found in my description. You may also want LED lights behind your paper art. I recommend LED tape lights, and I will show you how to use them and which ones I recommend as well. So let me show you where to get the free shadow box paper art template and customize it so that it suits your needs. All right, so to get my template, go on over to jennifermaker.com. And this is where I keep all of my free project files. I want you to click on Libraries up there at the top, and you'll be taken to a page that talks about how to get the free password. If you don't have it, you can request it right there. But go ahead and click on Resource Library and type in the password that I send you in email. And once you're inside my library, you just want to look for the shadow box file. You can search for this page with Control F or Command F. Right now it's the top of my list, and you just click on that first link right there, and it downloads. And it's really that simple. Now inside you'll see there's several different files. They're actually different sizes because sizing is really very important. So we're going to talk about how to pick the right size. Now let's go to Cricut Design Space and click on New Project. And we're going to upload it. So click on Upload over on the left side. Then click on Upload Image and click Browse. Now you'll want to find that file. Now, of course, figuring out which file you need can be a little tricky. We're going to start with the small one, the 7.3 size one, and I'm going to show you how to resize it for your frame. Assuming that you use a big frame, right? You might not want to, so it might not matter. Go ahead and click Save when you're done there. And then when it's inside, click it itself and click Insert Images, and it'll be added to your canvas. Now let's talk about how to determine the size. You want to take your frame. I have an IKEA one here and one that I got at Michael's, and you need a ruler. And so we need to actually take these apart to measure them because the outside of the frame is not the same as what will fit inside. So you take everything out and you'll see that there are these inserts here. The IKEA one is, I don't know, maybe 1 inch, and this Michael's one is a little bit shorter, but they will both work. And now the key is to measure the inside of this frame here. So see these inserts? These are very common in shadow box frames. In fact, every single shadow box frame that I have seen has this insert. So we want to take it out, and we're going to measure the inside from the inside edge to inside edge. Right, so this one is a little over 8.5 inches. That's the IKEA Ribba one, which I have linked below this video and also over on my blog if you would like to get it. This Michael's one here looks like it's about 7 7.3/8, it looks like, just under a half, 7.3. So what if your shadow box is a totally different size? Now I created files for both of these, two different sizes plus several others, but what if your shadow box is for a different size frame? Because that's totally possible. And your options are really going to range from 7 inches interior width to, I would say, no more than 8.5, right? Because any bigger than that, you start having issues getting it to fit on your paper. Probably, maybe you can go for 9 inches. So this is how you resize it to fit your frame inserts exactly. You head on over to Cricut Design Space, and here's everything right here. This says we uploaded it. We're going to ungroup it right there, just like that, so that we have the layers broken down. Now, if you'll notice, like this frame here, this frame is bigger and it's going to be folded, so we can't use it as our guide. But this blue layer here, this blue layer is exactly the size that would fit inside of your insert. So that doesn't have any frame around it or anything. So we're going to click on that blue, and we're going to go up to Arrange, and we're going to choose Bring to Front so that we can see it better and can select it better. And once we have it to the front, we can then see its size. So up here at the top, it gives us the size. So right now it's sized for the smaller Michael's frame. But we can totally change this. So what you want to do is select everything on your canvas, just like I'm doing here, click and drag, and then use the resize button in the lower right corner to make it a little bigger, right? So you just click it and drag it, and everything sizes up. Now you can't quite tell what size is right, so you unclick it, then select that blue block box, and now you can see what size it is. And this is how you get just the right size for your project. So you just keep doing this until you get it the size that you want. So I'm going to keep doing this until we get to 8.5. And yes, I have an 8.5 file in there, but I want you to see how this works. By the way, there's a tip. You can click select all up there at the top if you don't want to click and drag to select everything. And so you just really just keep resizing it, and then clicking that blue box and checking its size to determine what size your finished project will be. And that is the key to resizing really anything, is to find the size of the item that's going to fit in there, and then resize everything, but then just check the size of that one item, and then you'll have a perfect resize. So let's go ahead and send this blue layer to the back so it's not covering up our design, because we're going to want to see it for the next stage. All right, so just use the Arrange menu and do Send to Back. Okay, so now let's click on our figures layer, and I want you to ungroup everything so that we can manipulate these figures better. Now it's important to note that each one of these has 2 layers, because that's how I've designed it, to give you some stability and depth in your design. So when you want to combine these things, you'll want to select both layers and move them. So you have to be careful not to accidentally select the wrong layer, just like I did there. So just do it really carefully. So if you want to have a little girl and a little boy in a swing, you would just add them together like this. And then you would click and drag it over into your project, and so that you can see how it looks, right? You don't actually have to have it there. It doesn't really matter for cutting it out. But you can combine these in lots of different ways. So let's say you are the mom of a little girl and a little boy. What you can do is you can put the little girl right like this, and it looks like the 3 of you are on a nice big swing together. Isn't that cool? So I designed it so that we had lots of flexibility in what figures go on the swing, and you can change things around. And of course, you can put a totally different design here as well. You could have a bride and groom, you could have a single figure, you could have a cat or a dog, whatever you wanted. I'm going to use the mother and daughter. This is me and my daughter Alexa, and I'm going to put it right there. And I don't need the others, so we go ahead and delete those because we don't need to cut them out. And that's all we have to do, guys. Nothing else. No scoring, nothing. Just click Make It, and you'll see that everything is good to go. This blue layer can be cut as blue, or it can be cut as white. It's your choice. This is the pink layer here with the 2 figures, so we have 2 of them. And this here is the frame. And if you want, you can kind of click and drag the flowers to give them a little bit more space on your paper. Same for over here, but it's not necessary. I sometimes like to do it because it can be easier to lift them off the mat. But when you're ready, go ahead and click that green button and choose your Cricut. And then we're going to set our material. And I'm suggesting 65-pound cardstock, which is best for shadow boxes. So you just need to choose medium cardstock. That's the best setting for this. And I always change my pressure to more. And that is it. That's all you need to do. Just make sure that you're got a nice sticky mat and your blade is sharp. I like to use a ball of aluminum foil to sharpen my blade each time so that we have those nice, clear, and clean cuts. If you're having an issue cutting your material at all, make sure your mat is sticky. That's the single best tip that I can give you. It really makes a huge difference. I had the issue when I was cutting it out. My mat wasn't as sticky as it should be. As soon as I switched my mat to a nice sticky one, all of my problems went away. And now this is my trick to keeping my blades sharp. And I haven't had to buy a new blade in over a year with this. So I just take a ball of aluminum foil and take my blade out of my machine, depress the plunger, and stick it into this ball of aluminum foil over and over and over, like 50 times or so. It cleans the blade and it seems to sharpen it, and it works amazing. All right, so here we have all of our paper cut out, and as well as our little accessories. We're going to be using tacky glue as well as 3D dots called Zots. And if you look at these, you'll see they're transparent and they're also thick. They have some dimension to them, and this is really important for giving the right look to our shadow box paper art, because we want those layers of paper to stand off from each other to create that dimensional look. So what we're going to do is we're going to first glue our bottom frame. You'll see there's lots of layers here. I have them all in the right order here, but we're going to start with our bottom frame, and you just fold along the dashed lines. They're cut, and I'm using those in lieu of scarring just to make it a little easier for you. And then you just fold up the tabs on each end, and you put a little tacky glue there, and you fold them in. I recommend this over the 3D Zots because you don't want any extra padding on the corners of your box here. So you want to do that on all four corners. And this layer here, the one at the back, is your bottom layer. And you can tell the difference between the bottom layer and the top layer because the bottom box is smaller, and the top box, which is this one right here, has a big square cut out of it, and it's larger. It's going to fit right over the top of the back one. And so this design has a self frame, so that if you don't want to go out and buy an expensive shadow box frame, you don't have to. And you can just use the self frame, the self paper frame. Now it'll be difficult to put LED lights behind it, but not impossible if you're industrious. But we glue it the same way that we did before. We just put some tacky glue right in the corners there and hold it down until it's dried and in place. And we want to make sure that everything fits okay, so put it right on top of the bottom to make sure it goes over, and it does. So everything that we make from this point forward will be inside these two layers, right? So that our end product is there. So we have all of our layers, and you could just put them in here like this, but you're not going to be able to see them very well if you do it this way at all. And you can see how flat it looks, right? I mean, it's cool, but not as cool as it could be. And we're going to use these Zots to separate the layers and really give it an awesome look. So this first layer is the sun. You want the shortest ray to be at the bottom, and it actually goes in the very back, and we're going to glue it down so it's flat. So we're not going to use any Zots on this layer. You can, of course, change the order of these layers. It's totally up to you. This is the way that I chose to do it on my white and white box. And just glue down some of those rays because you want it to be really flat. The reason we want it to be flat against it is so that we can see the light come through really well. And then we have our plain square. Now you can decorate this some way, paint it. You could choose a different color of paper. Like this is the blue layer that I showed you earlier. I'm just going to leave mine white. And then it is time to put our dots on, right? So I'm putting them at the top middle, bottom middle, and the middle on the two sides. You could put more dots if you want. If you don't like the look, it's up to you. All that matters is that you can't see the dots when they're on the when they're in your box. And we can't forget, of course, to glue our figures onto our tree before we place it. So now remember, I said we have 2 of each figure because it really strengthens it and it gives it a little depth, and I really like that. So to make this happen, you're just going to want to glue them together. You could use spray adhesive if you prefer. I don't feel like going to get my spray adhesive, so I'm just using my tacky glue, which works just fine. Just make sure that you line up everything really well, and you have the little the rope, the swing part, and it goes in an angle like this, but of course you could do it any way you want. So because light will be shining through this, you want to make sure that your swing goes all the way up to the top of your branch, just in case you can see it, because it'd be weird to have like a swing like just in the middle of the branch. So take the top of your swing and line it up with the top of your branch. And when it's dry, you can then place your design into your shadow box, and it will look just like this. Right, so here it is. You can see the figures and the thing, and I need a little more depth behind my figures, so I'm going to put a dot right behind them, just like that, so that it sticks up off of the back, so that it doesn't look too flat. And there we go. So now we can see that there's the shadow, because this is the whole thing. It's a shadow box, and these dots are giving us enough space in between our layers of paper so that we create the shadows in the first place, and that really will make a difference. These dots are very sticky. I'm trying to find the best way to apply them. I'm sure there's some other way that someone out there might know how to apply these dots, but I found it was easy just to take them off my fingers and place them. And then you just build up your layers in whatever way you want. There's no rules here. You can do it exactly the way that I've done it. You can change things around. You can paint the colors. You can paint the layers of paper. You can use different colors. I have one where I've used all pastel paper so that it looks more interesting with the lights off. Whatever you want, it's completely up to you. I love though how the shadow, the layers of shadow create that really cool look, like you're looking into something. Now, I have these extra flowers here that if you would like, you can put on to this layer, and you'll want to attach them before you put them on your layers on. And it's just a little bit of glue at the very bottom, and you just glue them right into place. No big deal. There's no right or wrong way to do this. You get to pick how you want this to look, which is the fun part of these projects, isn't it? You get to customize it just the way you want. I chose to put 4 of these flowers at the bottom of this layer right here. You just want to put it on before you layer it on, because it's harder to get your fingers under there and get the glue in. And then we put our dots on, and then we'll put our layer on, and you'll see how awesome this looks. There we go. See, and we have those shadows going on now. So even though it's all just white on white, we can still see the edges, which is really cool. This last layer, I have a grass layer just to give it yet more depth and interest. You can use it if you'd like. So just a thin layer of glue at the bottom of the back side of this layer is all we really need to put that grass on. All right, so once our grass is on, we're going to apply our dots to our layer. I recommend that you keep them in generally the same spots so that depth is carried out throughout your whole thing. But for this last layer, I'm going to make sure I've got it in all 4 corners so that it doesn't want to flip up anywhere or anything like that. And you just place it where you want it to be, right inside the tray there, and stick it down, and then we just put the cover over it. And at this point, you can say you're done, because it's really basically done, right? But if you want to do more, like put it into a frame, a shadow box frame, you can totally do that. I am going to put it into one that I found at Joann's. And again, I have links to all of these. So this is a 9x9 frame, though, it really isn't 9x9 on the inside. Remember, I already measured it in advance, and so it fits in there perfectly. So we could just go ahead and put this frame on and call it done again, but it looks so much cooler when you put LED lights behind it. So the way that I recommend that you do the LED lights is go ahead and take out after you've made sure it fits, of course, go ahead and take out the design and the insert. So that's that square thing that we measured. Now, in my experience, light will want to come in through the edges of that insert after you put in your LED light. So we need to change that. I don't like the light coming in at the edges if we can help it. So what I suggest that you do is cover up the edge of your frame underneath that insert with something like washi tape or something. It just needs to be a solid color so that the light doesn't come through it, right? So you could also use masking tape or something like that. Just make sure that whatever it is, it looks good from the other side, so that it's not, hurting the way that your frame looks. And then you just stick it to the inside of your frame, just as I'm doing here. And you'll want to do all 4 edges and just make sure that you're getting everything nice and straight, because you'll be able to see the edge of this from the outside. When it's good, put your insert back in and put your design back in. And then it's time to put our lights in. So I'm using flexible tape light, LED, that's very bright. You want it to be bright. If it's not bright enough, it won't really make much of a difference. And this one is cool to the touch, which is good. But generally, any LED lights should be fine as long as they fit inside your frame. And this one is pretty thin. I found this particular one that I'm using right here. This one was from Lowe's, and I also found one at Menards. And you can get them on Amazon as well. I have the links for all of these below. So you'll want to plug that in, make sure it works before you put it into your box. They usually come with a self-adhesive on the back. And then you just stick it to the inside of your box, just as I'm doing here. And you want to make sure that as in this orientation, so the light is shining inward towards the center. You don't want it shining towards the back or shining on your picture, because that's just going to be too much. But when it shines inward like this, it creates a beautiful glow. And that's what we're looking for. So you just go all around the edges and stick that down. Now, when you get to the end, you could, of course, snip it off. A lot of these have ways to cut them. I didn't see any purpose to that because I want it to be really bright in there. So I kept the entire length of my LED in there. And I just took off the end there and stuck it to itself so it would stay in place and not fall. And that's what it looks like when the light is in there. Now, one thing you might notice is right here, this cord is sticking out and it doesn't want to lay flat. So we need to cut this corner off of the back of our frame. We just use an X-Acto knife, and you just do it a few times and you kind of break it off at the end there. You don't actually have to cut it all the way through. Just break it off and just have a little corner, and then it'll go right over the back of your frame, and your cord can stick out and not cause any issues for fitting. And then you want to put down all the tabs on your frame. Mine were really stiff, so I needed a little help to get them down. Whatever it takes, don't hurt yourself. Those little buggers are hard. And that's really it. That's all you have to do. I just want to make sure that your light is working and everything. So let's see what this looks like with the lights off, shall we? All right, so this is what it looks like with the room lights on and the LED light on. So you can see that the lights are on. There's certainly a glow there, and it certainly creates an edge around each of the layers. But this is what it looks like with the lights off completely. There we go. So you can see that it really makes this beautiful look to it, right? It's really very pretty. And it's hard to see in the video, but the rays of the sun are definitely visible, like to the naked eye, right? Of the sun there. And here's a picture of it so you can see what it actually looks like with that light coming through that extra layer that had the sun rays. And I think it's just awesome. Now what I really like about this shadow box paper art is that it looks good with the lights on and off, and yet really very different when the lights are on and off, right? Now you can experiment with paper colors for a unique look. Just remember to keep the colors light so the light can still pass through them. Another idea is to paint the sky paper layer like a blue or something like that to give your shadow box a bit more character. Now, if you have any questions at all about this project, please let me know. Leave a comment below or come on over to our Facebook group at jennifermaker.com/cricutcrafters. We're always happy to help you out there. And that's it for today. Remember, if you can tell me what you want to make, I can show you how to make it. Until next time.